Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Progress City Radio Hour. My name is Jeff Crawford, and I'm here in our lovely, well-appointed town hall, joined by my brother here, Michael Crawford. Michael, you know, the upholsterers have been in, and the town hall is looking better than ever.
It's looking fantastic. We brought in some consultants from Knott's Berry Farm for their Independence Hall, and they gave us some tips on civic gathering spaces. So it's all looking very nice.
And as it is a town hall episode, you know we will be talking with someone tonight over there on the dais. Michael, who do we have tonight?
Well, I'm very, very excited. This town hall, we're speaking to someone whose work I've long admired, who we have long admired, and someone who is just one heck of a nice guy. That's Mr. Derric Johnson. Derric is a vocal impresario of great renown, and for our interest, for Disney fans' interest, he is the founder and long time leader of the Voices of Liberty.
Yes, one of those core ensembles at Walt Disney World, and the Disney World, you would say, at this point, the Voices of Liberty are. And if you have not had the chance to listen to them, just incredible choral singing, just beautifully arranged. And Derric was in the middle of forming them, but also doing all the arrangements, which is just incredible.
Yes, he really shaped their sound, their very distinctive sound, which has just made them so world-renowned, really. And, you know, fascinatingly, his Disney career started long before the Voices of Liberty. So it goes back a little ways and to a very intriguing time at Walt Disney World.
That's right. And, you know, what better way to, enjoy the 4th of July than to think about sitting in that rotunda at the American Adventure, worn out. Maybe you're drinking a Coke real quick before you go into the show. You're just about to fall asleep. But these people come out and they sing in that beautiful, beautiful space. What a great chance to talk to the guy that put all this together.
Yeah, I was very excited to talk to him. And so without further ado, why don't we jump in? This is the great Derric Johnson. Before we begin, I just wanted to ask you about something that happened sort of just prior to our recording. And since you spent your life involved in music and a lot of that time with Disney ties, I wonder if you had any thoughts about the passing of Richard Sherman, the great Disney songwriter. He passed away the other day.
What a loss. Yeah, I've been checking back, on things that he wrote and interviews he had. He obviously was an incredible writer, and the story of how they were there just kind of starting off, and Walt had hired him for the job of Mary Poppins, and that's when he, after I forget which song it was, but I think it was the lady,
Oh, the Feed the Birds,
Yeah, you're not going to, but you're under contract to me from now on. So, that was it. They stayed there forever. But what an incredible man.
It's an amazing legacy for sure.
Just fabulous, man.
Your contribution to the legacy, the Disney legacy, especially Voices of Liberty, have performed at EPCOT since the very beginning of EPCOT.
Opening day.
But your roots with Disney go back further than that.
Yeah,
so tell us about Regeneration.
Well, it was a traveling kind of a gospel show choir. We got full-time on the road. It was a great time. Had wonderful singers, young, just still college. And we started in 1970, and Disney discovered us in 72. Magic Kingdom had just opened. And of course, and we had, like everybody else, submitted a request to come and sing there, be involved. I didn't want a job there, just wanted the stage for a bit,
Mm-hmm.
And of course, they wouldn't even accept any applications. In fact, they told me later they got 50 50 submissions a week from people sending in.
Oh my gosh.
And they said, we have to hire a staff just to say no and make people mad. And so why would we do that? They just said, no, you do what you do. We'll find you if we want you. So we kept doing our thing. And so 1972, and it's very interesting to me because there was an IHOP restaurant in Winter Garden, Florida. That's right. That's gone now. The building's gone, but it's on Highway 50. There's a Wawa gas station there now. Dillard is north-south, and Highway 50, Colonial Boulevard goes east-west. And we were singing at a Rotary Club there. Bob Cross, there were 33 guys, and Bob Cross came in with Del Schilling. Bob Cross was the entertainment director then for the Magic Kingdom, and heard us, and just heard 2 songs. And he left his business card with my business manager, said, have Derric call me as soon as this is over. So he said, what we're looking to do, we want to hire you in for 11 days in 1973, February 12 to 22, Lincoln's to Washington's birthday. We're trying to entertainment. We're trying to put a stage in front of the castle. But because California doesn't have a stage in front of their castle, well, we don't have one either. Because, California was always first like that. I mean, we mimic it. Anyway, he said, and operations keeps telling you, who'd ever want to see a show in front of Cinderella's castle? And entertainment, we say only everybody. So you come in, we'll build a portable stage, and the band, the Main Street band, they'll play your accompaniment. We were working with tracks in those days, pre-recorded orchestra tracks, and we had a big patriotic show called Star Spangled Spectacular. They liked the wardrobe, they liked the look of the kids, they liked the sound. And in fact, Bob Cross told me when he said, "You're more Disney than Disney." A very fun percussion. It's kind of a cross, there's a Boston Pops kind of a feel, just very energetic, but still a legit kind of a sound. So anyway, and so we went in for that, and that's 51 years ago. It's hard for me to believe.
Wow.
Yeah. So we were there. They built a portable stage. We were there for 11 days at 4 shows a day. And it was much cheaper for them to bring us in because we already had the show. We were talking later, and they said if we put a show up, talking about entertainment and operations, because you'd have to prove it, but it costs us $250,000, $300,000 to mount a show. By the time you conceive it, write it, cast it, wardrobe it, rehearse it, and we just hire you in for I don't know, $1,500 a day or something like that in those days, for 11 days. So it worked well for everybody. Then Bob Yanni, if you remember that name,
oh yes,
became a really good friend. We did a lot of things together, and after we finished our first run, the last day, he was there, and he said, "Just love having your kids. They're bright and they're shiny and great attitudes. They're wonderful to work with. I'd love to have you back again next year, but can't do it because you fall into the category of serendipitous entertainment. You're not. So we bring new things in all the time. We can't just if we have a group every day, that's one thing. But we'll love for you to return, but I really can't. I said, that's too bad, we'd love to come. He said, will you really? I said, yeah. Okay, he said, I can override the computer. Come back next year. So we came for 5 more years. That during that time, and we opened a bunch. So we left that stage in front of the castle. That was regeneration. Then we did a living nativity scene. They wanted over in that village. It was the villages in those days, Disney Springs, and that stage that's there. That was built for the living nativity scene that we did the whole month of December, and that regenerated. We came in. We were carolers. Dickens carolers in the Magic Kingdom for 4 hours, then we'd zip over to the villages, to Disney Springs, and do a living nativity scene. It was extremely popular. I mean, they have the traffic backed up for 5 miles up for coming. That was a free show. That if you got there, you were in. They built sand, and that show went for about 19 years. And the Disney lost it because of space, because they put the big toy store in right by that stage. So that took away the place for stands. But before that, it was a pottery chalet. It was way back, so they had room for over 1,000 people to be seated in stands.
I remember that show. When we went, when we were kids, we always, well, not always, but often stayed at the village and the villas there.
Yeah.
And so we spent we would go in the holidays because we were out of school. And I vividly remember seeing the pageant there.
So that was so much for the. They said, why don't you, when they asked us to come back for December, after 6 years, they wanted us to regeneration stay and be kids of the kingdom. But at that point in time, I still had other things I really wanted to do and accomplish. So I thank you very much. I didn't want to settle in. So they hired one of my alum to be their stage lead. When they made it look exactly like Regen, 5 guys, 5 girls, and the whole run of Kids of the Kingdom was kind of us. And then we did an a cappella Christmas album, and that's when Disney got excited about it. So, well, maybe we can come back. Can you do that live? And I said, sure. So they said, well, come be carolers, and then we'll do the show. And I said, wonderful. Where's the music for the show for Living Nativity? And they said, well, why don't you write it? We don't really have anything like that. I said, okay, I'll do that. I said, how about the script? So I know well, you've been a pastor, haven't you? I said, well, I have. They said, why don't you write the script? So I said, oh, okay. Who's the narrator going to be? Because if it's Shakespearean, I would, write it differently than if it's somebody's going to be more casual. And the idea we were talking about with Bob Yanni was to have the innkeeper be the narrator, so he'd be more of a common person. They said, well, why don't you go ahead and be the narrator too? So I said, okay. So there we were for those next years. I did it, I think, for 5 as a narrator, then passed it on to some other people. But Regeneration kept coming back to do the music, And then when EPCOT opened, I got a call from Forrest Baruth, who was one of the show directors at EPCOT as it was being built. And he said, we're thinking about having an a cappella group. I talked to Bob Yanni, and he'd love to have you write and staff and produce a show. Are you interested? And I said, I am. I just had taken Regeneration off the road. We did it for 12 years. We did 500 shows a year. That's 11 a week. So it was a really busy time. It was wonderful. We did Disney, a lot of big convention things. We did Boy Scout Jamboree, 45,000 Boy Scouts on the hills of Virginia. And we did a halftime show for the NFL, National Football League Pro Bowl, industrial shows in Acapulco for Dick Devine. So we had pretty well done what we could do. I'm not good at doing things over again. I'd rather create something new, So anyway, Regen, we did 12 years, and it was going great. Money was not a problem. It just, I had done it,
Mm-hmm.
Just in December, we had ended at Disney. Our last thing there, we all said goodbye. Kept some things going, just kind of on the side, but not traveling and touring are 2 different things. And so we weren't going to tour anymore. And then in March, I got this call from Forrest saying, we'd be interested in doing something at Disney. Put an a cappella group together. I said, I love it. So that's the transition of life, that we went through. So it was a great time.
That's great. Well, I would imagine, as you say, Disney would be excited to get a group that they don't have to put together, like you said, and like go through the development process. And I would imagine 500 shows a year is astounding. So I would imagine Disney was very thrilled to get a very polished group. I would imagine the group was very tight from that much performance.
The choreography and all, it was extremely. And when we were coming to Disney, which was in February, but those early days, we were really starting off in end of August. So we had a good 6 months to run with those, that team, because the team would change from year to year. And but boy, we either rent dance studios along the way so we could perfect the choreography with mirrors. So you're not just kind of saying, do it. I mean, look at yourself there,
Right.
Anyway, so we spent a lot of time and energy getting ready. So by the time we got to, we had a jump with everybody, up like this. I mean, it was timed. It was so perfectly. I mean, they got a big bass that weighs 250 pounds and a little soprano who probably weighs 90 pounds right next to him. And just we'd work and work. Those things were timed perfectly. So it really was a great show. It really was.
I'd be curious. I mean, those acts have so many different, kinds of disciplines involved. I mean, there's arranging and dancing, as you say, singing. Who were some of your influences going into making that group?
Well, let's see. Michael Curd with his congregation probably was a stimulus,
Mm-hmm.
in one sense, and of course they got into some movies and things. So I just always kind of like that feeling. But even before Regeneration, I had a group called the New Sounds when folk music was really hot.
Mm-hmm.
It was chart music. You guys missed that. You're too young. Too bad. It was a wonderful time, man. Those songs had so much character about them. And I was at a church, a very large church in San Diego, had a group of San Diego of college kids who were really amazing. It was all acoustic group. But I had guitar players I mean, those guys. I have three guitar players in this group, and the arco, stand up bass and tambourine and a banjo. So it was really high energy, but all acoustic. So it was a very controllable sound. You didn't have a lot of with electronics, and so we had even there with that church group. We traveled a lot. Went to South America on a long trip. Musical odyssey. And I guess we had 2 albums, and I published music with them because I was writing for them. So they're the ones that really started it off. And we did a couple of national tours with them, go out for a month and just come back, from San Diego or all around the country and back. And that's really where I learned a lot about the whole traveling thing, and to make it go. But like these players, these guys, it's not like in church, and I'm not demeaning this. It's a style that worship guitar, which you just sing it, ticka, 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 ticka.
Mm-hmm.
These guys played the guitar. You know what I mean? It was such music. Well, we could start with I'd have an intro on a song, and you start with a guy over on this side, and right up the other side. The sound would move across. It was wonderful to work with those creative kids, and so I learned so much from them. I had ideas, but then how you put it in that language, that musical language, folk, was a whole different thing for me. It's not my background, but I loved it, and I really wanted to know how to make that thing work. And then from that, jump to Regeneration, and then to Voices of Liberty and Candlelight and all the rest of the stuff. So,
wow,
well, that folk music is such a good key to figuring out those secrets, really. Because it's so laid bare. But hey, I was curious. I mean, the Regeneration stuff is so lush and ornate. Do you have any special memories of making those records?
Oh yeah, we did. We were traveling for 12 years and did those. We traveled, over 100,000 miles a year, sang to 1 million people every year, and still managed to record 38 albums in those 12 years.
Oh, wow. Heavens.
Oh, gosh.
It was really an incredible and very busy, wonderful time. That I said, these kids were great singers, and I was publishing music, and so publishers wanted more stuff all the time. So they were asking us for we did Americana, another patriotic album. So make it all original, okay? And we'll have a radio show. You'd never had a radio show every day, 2 minutes a day for a year, going to 1976. That kind of stuff. So we had a lot of not just help, but opportunity that comes. Opportunity is the big thing. That I never set goals in my life. GOALS, goals. Everybody tells you to set goals. If I'd have told you what I do is leave good opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Goals can be very fixed and very focused, and it drives you to a destination. I'm not against it. I just don't do it because you miss too much. When I graduated from college, I could not have told you my goal was to have a singing group at EPCOT. There was no EPCOT. How could I know that?
Right.
Right, exactly.
I wasn't even at Disneyland when I graduated from college. So, how could I know that? But I will leave it opportunities. And so that's really what happened to us. We started out not hardly knowing if we'd make it, and by the time we finished 12 years, it was really quite amazing. But I always wanted to, with regeneration, I've always believed God only created one instrument, and that's the human voice. All other instruments are there to imitate or support the human voice. So I treasure that sound.
Mm.
But of course, there was no a cappella market at all. The only two things you could find back in the 70s would be barbershop
Mm-hmm.
or bad college glee. There was nothing a cappella. And so my record company, I kept saying, I want to do an a cappella album because they have these great singers. And they love these big band chords that are translated into vocal. And they say there's no market. The producer, they said, we're not going to put money into something that's not going to, who cares? Nobody wants a cappella. There's no market for that. And so I kept picking at them and picking at them. And finally I pulled one out. It'd be a real low budget because the singers are mine. So I'm already paying them, so I don't have to hire singers. And if we don't hire an orchestra, and I'm doing the arrangements, that's my job. So that's all basically free. It's just recording studio time. So we're coming to the end of our fourth year, and then the producer finally relented. He said, "Okay, just give it a try." Then he stopped talking about it. I said, "Okay." So stop pestering me. So we did an album, and it sold nicely because we were singing one or two of those at every concert, every show. And then we sold albums after, point of purchase albums. And so we certainly paid for that quickly for that. Well, then the company, Impact Records, they controlled the contracts of big recording artists in the Christian contemporary world, had Regeneration, had big Bill Gaither and big names even to today, but we were all in this one company. And so the producer called me and said, we're going to do a Christmas album for distributors. This is a giveaway. So I have 10 groups, or 10 top groups that are going to contribute a song. You want to be one of those? I said, absolutely. But I said, why don't you let me do 2 a cappella songs? I can do that cheaper than orchestrating, doing one song and have it orchestrated, because I don't have to pay for orchestra. And then I can have a giveaway, a little sample thing. You buy 3 of our albums, we'll give you a Christmas album as a giveaway. Mm-hmm. And he said, that would be good idea. So I did 2 songs. I did I did an big arrangement of Do You Hear What I Hear? Mm. And then Yesu Bambino, which is a very lovely lullaby-ish Christmas song. And we got those two done. And I called the producer about a month later and I said, how's your Christmas album coming? He said, I canceled it. I said, what? He said, yeah, 6 of the groups wanted to Go Tell It on the Mountain because they got the hot thing. I told him, I'm not going to referee. There's no money in this. We're just a giveaway. Why can't you people understand? So forget it. I said, well, I have 2 songs already done. Why don't we just do 8 more and we'll have a Christmas album? We call it Christmas in Velvet. And so he said, might as well do it. I mean, you did well with the blue velvet thing that you did. So we recorded that. And it really ended up being a magic recording. That's what Disney heard and said, can you come and do that live for us? Uh-huh. So that was a big turn. That's what got us back into Disney. But I was up in New York City. Bob Yanni was also, he did so many things. He was at Disney, but he also had his own big agency that he put great shows together. Mm-hmm. And then he was hired by the state of New York to take over Radio City Music Hall because they were going to tear that building down and make it a parking garage.
Oh my gosh.
Because it was a wreck. But they hired Bob Yanni to come and resurrect it. The state of New York did. So Bob was up there. He said, I'll do it if I can be the president and the creative director. I'm not going to argue with anybody. If you want me to do this, then I'll do it. And Bob was so good at that kind of stuff. So they said, fine, come and do it. So he got the thing going again, obviously. And he had me come up. I was going to do some writing for Radio City Music, because Bob loved that a cappella thing. And So I was going to do a couple of songs for their Christmas show. I was up there for the meeting, and Bob had to go to some kind of emergency meeting. So I'm with Don Pippin, who was a gigantic writer. He was the music director at Radio City, and we go to lunch. And we talked about his career, 13 nominations for Tonys and stuff. He's a legend. Then he said, Derric, I want to ask you one question. I said, okay. He said, how did you record Do You Hear What I Hear? I said, what? I mean, what is a gospel group? I mean, this is Broadway. And he said, well, everybody up there has that album. And figure out how you did it. I said, we know it's double choir. I mean, because it and so if I can tell my friends how you did that, I'm going to be a hero. So tell me, how did you have a piano guide track? Did you have what'd you do? I said, no, we just blew a pitch pipe, counted to 4, and we sang the first choral pass, and then we sang the second one and didn't like some stuff on the first, and so it took us a day. We said, a day? Boy, you think they take a week to do that? No, we did it another day, and we kept back and forth. So that song, I mean, it hit big all of a sudden to the world out there in New York, Broadway. A cappella becomes a thing. There was, honestly, that was in 1976. There was no professional a cappella work. It was, I mean, nothing, people making their living doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to it, all the pentatonics today and Octave and Liberty, they'll go back to that one song, Do You Hear What I Hear, on that one album. Is that crazy?
Well, it's like you said, being open to the next kind of opportunity.
Yeah.
The fact that album was passed around without you even knowing it before time, I mean, this is really incredible. Testament to, you not pushing it, but letting it come around,
It happened, yeah, right. It's that wind of opportunity that blows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
that's what you got to be looking for, rather than some hard set goal out here.
Yes.
That drives to something far less than you can imagine. So
right.
Anyway, that's my lesson for you guys today. Okay. Press on.
Sounds good. Yeah. But tell us about Bob Yanni, because he's a figure that casts a long shadow, and sadly gone now. But what was he like to work with? What was he like as a person?
He was, for me, incredible to work with. In fact, everybody I know who worked with him counts him as a mentor. He had this instinct to know what would work, which is why he was so high up in the whole Disney echelon. He's there, and had such great influence, and everybody knew him, and he spoke with such authority. Never was mean. Some of those guys they're not very personable when you get down to it. He always was, but really a driver. To anybody, he always had the right touch. We were walking through it was the Villages those days, Disney Springs, and the building is still there. I think for a long time they had their badges or pins that you could trade and stuff. It's kind of a
sure, the circular kind of building.
Steamboat, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we were walking together, and he stopped and he just called over somebody. I don't know who the guy was he called over, but he was with the tie on. Those days you could always tell Disney execs because they're the only people on the property with ties, Oh, he said, this thing looks like the backside of a garage sale. That's horrible. Close that thing down now. Just cover it over and figure something that can go in there that's worthwhile. And he walked on. And said, boy, before we got away, I had to go my shoulder. And that guy's hustling, getting guys hanging stuff around the thing. But that's who Bob Yanni was. He told me one time that the Navy, he was helping them do some big show. You're on an aircraft carrier, and all the ladies, the waves, they had to wear the same underwear that the guys did, which were boxer shorts. Yeah, and that was Navy. I know that was Navy protocol. I mean, all enlisted. That's an issue. And he said he's sitting next to an admiral. So He said the bloomers on those dancing girls are absolutely horrible. You need to change that. Admiral says, I can't change that. It's protocol. Bob Young said, if you want me to help you do this show, put panties on those girls. And the Navy did. That's a Bob Yanni. Now, I had some really incredible meetings with him, just the one-on-one, where he could tell his heart and some things he really wanted to see that were bigger than the company, even bigger than Disney, or a different direction in the sense that Disney would go. But I cannot talk proudly enough about him or positively. He was amazing. And just to watch him work, as he would maneuver people, but very kindly, but strong. Tell an admiral, if you want me to help you on this show, fix it.
And it worked. Yeah.
It's real simple here. Well, of course they want Bob Yanni. Are you kidding? So anyway, he just, they didn't have anybody like him before or since. So I got to know him for probably 50. I think the highest compliment that he paid with voices, we have those echo sets. Did you ever see an echo set where the one group comes in over the top of the other?
Yes, like on the balcony.
Yeah, the very last 60 seconds of the show, you get a whole new group up there coming. Mm-hmm. And Battle Hymn was one of the big songs that we did. And I have to tell you how we got to two casts here in just a minute, but because we had two casts, and so you could do that. But Bob came. He had Lou Gehrig's disease. That's what got that muscular. So he came, and I knew he was going to be there because those kind of things get around the park, the backside of things. So I was there, and his right side was pretty well paralyzed. He had a cane and he dragged his foot, had a wheelchair, but he came in the American Adventure. And we talked for a minute before the show, and he said, come out here, I want to get under the dome. So we moved ourselves, and he didn't have to say anything. He's a crippled guy, so people moved, for him, and I'm with him. So we're standing, so you can get the echo set, the acoustics. And we did, they did the same Battle Hymn for him that day. And because he requested, he told me, he said, he said, I'd love to see this. And that's when the downstairs cast ends, his truth is marching on, into a modulation. And there's a break, and then these invisible voices start of glory, glory, hallelujah. And then they march to the edge of the balcony. And you can see people. I have watched tears pop out of eyes. Squirt out, because he's so emotional. And he stood there, he cried. And after it was over, he said, every time I come on a walkthrough, I always say, I want to get the voices, and let's do an echo set, because we did 4 a day, 4 echo sets a day out of the 12 or 14 stairs we had. He said, that's the one. And he said, I always try to stand right here, because I'd like to look, I want to hear it, and I want to see the people. Those responses. He said, Derric, that's the finest show moment on any Disney property anywhere in the world.
Wow.
Oh, no, he didn't say it's the finest show. The finest show. I'll take a moment.
Absolutely.
The finest show moment on any Disney property anywhere in the world. But Bob Yanni, understood the value of, sort of Walt Disney, the value of emotion. It's hard. That's why Walt liked that Bird Lady song so much. Mm-hmm. That's about his favorite song. I saw a thing on Richard Sherman yesterday. He said that's Walt's favorite song. Because of what it did to his heart.
Yeah.
So anyway, so now that's my time at Disney, and I wouldn't trade those days for anything, because it was wide open creativity, and let's see how great can we make this, rather than how little can we do and still get by. How great can we make this? So nobody does it like this,
Right.
Those are my memories there.
It's wonderful to hear that. And I would imagine, the performers, I imagine there was a pride. I mean, this is a very sort of elite performing group, and I would imagine there was a great professional pride in that, and that they were doing this at this high level for millions of people, millions and millions of people. It's pretty remarkable.
Well, see, when I got there, I'd had this 10-year run with regeneration. We were done at Disney at least twice every year, sometimes three, to do different things at different stages. They would use us to try different spots out. Things, would bring us in for 3, 4, 5 days because they knew they could trust us, and we had a program people liked, and we could move on. So I had this 10-year background with them. And when Bob Yanni said he wanted me to do that Foot to Forest Blues, do this a cappella group, I really kind of thought I was going in as a hero, that this would be wonderful. Well, I get there for my contract meeting, and the guy, operational guy with the contract said, "Now, Derric, just so you know, don't want to hurt your feelings here. It's not about you, but we don't think this show is going to work." I said, "Really?" No, Christmas is nice because that's religious and that's pretty, but for the EPCOT, it's not going to work. No, it's come from California that you need to write and staff and produce the show. So you have a 6-month contract. I said, "Really?" "Yep, 6 months." And I said, "Well, then don't make me meet with committees on my arrangement. Let me just write what I want to write the way I want to write." You
Brilliant.
Because we like you. I mean, we like you, but we don't think that you are right for us, for the show. So, well, part of my 6 months. So I never told the singers that at all. And when we did our first auditions, the amazing thing, Disney didn't have any singers here in Florida. Had a couple people, 3 of them up at Top of the World, had a big a show there, the big band thing. But they were Broadway singers, big time belters primarily, not the kind of singers I need for the Voices of Liberty, who can pull it back in and blend, sing with one another, not at one another. And so we did our first audition for Voices there, and we had 32 people show up. We only hired 3, and all 3 of those had worked for me before. It was really scary. Well, Rich Taylor was one of the guys, and the one who was really assigned it because he'd been with Fred Waring, which was a big musical name.
Yeah.
And he had worked with Fred. So that's why he kind of was assigned to me to help me get this thing off, because I don't know any of the Disney terminologies or expectations. So he said, "Well, what are we going to do? Because we have opening day. We just don't have an opening cast. It's terrible. I need 16 singers." And he said, "I've got some Fred Waring people, alum I could call. You have any regeneration alum?" I said, "Yeah, I do. I've got a bunch." Because we just had stopped the group 6 months before, so nobody had really started this late in a big career yet, So the first group we had, 9 of the 16 singers were alum of mine, which ended up being great because they understood my sound and my expectation and my intensity on to make things right. And so that really did help me. But now I'm worried because I've got these guys. I brought kids in from Seattle. They're not kids. They're married now. But you come across the country. Well, it's fine. Disney pays them that one way. But they did quit job, not careers. But man, and they're here for 6 months. I mean, how do I face that? So I never told the kids at all, the singers at all that. But I've been going about maybe 4 months, and I knew I started just 2 months. I was done in the group. They said, "We'll keep the group for a year because their contract's for a year." But then it's, they're on their own. Whew. So I'm just really concerned and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I am a man of faith from background, and also I prayed about it a lot. I mean, I need some help here. It was as if as if, big words there, as if God said, well, who do you know upline that you can get help from? I said, God, I'll talk to everybody that I know. Nobody. And it's like he said, I have an idea. Don't worry. So this is true. And I have a picture. We have on our wall in the hallway Debbie's Wall of Fame, where she has pictures of Debbie with presidents of the United States. That's what this is. So this is one of those pictures. But after I was in real desperation, 2 weeks after I got my bearing, what am I going to do here? I don't know. We had this special guest come to EPCOT. He spoke to all the foreign students in the nationality place. He just welcomed them to America. That was President Reagan. And so he's upstairs in the third floor up at the green room, top of American Adventure, which is an incredible place. We sold any celebrity always up there, you know. You can't get there. It's got a special key in the elevator, you know. It's a very private place. But we knew that his favorite song, President Reagan's favorite song, was Battle Hymn of the Republic. So as he was coming down the elevator after he finished his speech, and he's going to go, he comes through the American Adventure out the back door to his limo to finish out his day. So we're lined up facing the elevator, knowing that Battle Hymn is his favorite song. The room is swept clear, and there's nobody in the room. And the picture shows that. I mean, in fact, no guests between Germany and Morocco.
Wow.
It's, the snipers on the roof. I mean, literally, because this is the president of the United States.
Right.
So they vetted all the singers, be sure they weren't terrorists. And, like FBI ran background checks on everybody. So we're facing the elevator as he comes down. The doors open and we start to sing. In the beauty, third verse, in the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea. Those nice big chords and he stopped. He's walking fast. Dick Nunes is with him. So in the picture that Debbie has on the wall, there's Dick Nunes and President Reagan, and then two Secret Servicemen who are looking at the doors. Right. And President Reagan stopped, and Dick Nunes said, "We've got to keep moving. We're late." And the president said, "Nobody walks while the battle hymn is being sung." Oh, wow. We stayed at the end, which is only a minute and a half, but I mean, it's a big ending. Big tear in his face. And as he walks past, Debbie is right on the end. She's singing low alto. And he walks right, past her, just tear on his cheek, walks out. I said, "Thank you." They never heard it like that before. Well, 4 hours later, Dick Nunes, who was never encouragement person, he'd be with the SOB on his hat. I'm the one to tell you everything is wrong here. Everybody tell the one. I'm the guy just so. But he had sent back a representative, to tell the singers that for the last 4 hours, Dick Nunes has been with the president, and all the president wants to talk about is voices of liberty. He never anything like that. He said the passion and precision. He said, the president told us in this, I hear people with passion all the time, but they don't sing well. I mean, the pitch is not good. They breathe in the middle of words, and a lot of people sing with great precision, but there's no passion. It's dead. Who cares? He said, I never heard any group do it so well, both with passion and precision.
That's
so, that was a nice thing for the kids to hear, Yeah. Well, I got a call the next day from the same operational guy who told me I had 6 months. Said, Derric, if the president likes it that much, we got to double it. We're doing 8 shows a day. We got our 16 shows a day. We got to find more singers. And by the way, we're extending your contract to another 6 months. Isn't that cool?
That's so cool.
That's what turned it.
So they were really they were ready to let your contract run out, then let the group's contract run out and just be done with it.
Oh yeah, they're going to bring either cloggers. Can you imagine cloggers?
Oh my gosh, in that room.
I still hear them.
In those acoustics.
Oh We had some really great, which is somebody from up in Pennsylvania. I like waters. Okay, let's check it. I mean, this is how it's run. They wanted, of course, a country group, pickers, and they had, I think, 5 different things that they had submitted before. Bobbiani had said, "Nah, I want Derric to do a group." Okay, so now you go back to that's not going to work. So we'll honor Bobbiani for these 6 months, because we're just going to say it didn't work.
Yeah.
Fine. So the president came and made it work for us, and so we've been there ever since.
That's hilarious.
Amazing.
Well, it seems like the Voices were a big hit from the start, because I've been reading a lot of old news coverage and things, and I mean, they get glowing coverage in the articles from the time, and it said, I read in several places where the Voices really helped soothe the crowds that may have been angry because the show wasn't working, the main show wasn't working. But then the Voices, people were just like, well, it was worth it just to hear the Voices,
Exactly right. Norm Burgess was the guy who was in charge of all the exit polls, what we call them, the surveys.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in those early days, everything ran on surveys.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say everything, but opposite of what today is. I mean, it was really so much about audience. And he always, he was a guy, he's a statistician, so he's not a very emotional kind of person, but he always loved Voices. He told me one day, from day one, the number one entertainment group we have by audience response is Voices of Liberty. And it continues every day, every week, every month, every year. It's always Voices from the first day. But see, you get guys with their heads made up because they don't, and I understand it, because see, most of those guys in those musical positions they're brass, they're trumpet players, they're trombone.
Yeah.
Voices, they don't even like singers. Because we're sloppy people. See through breasts, and that's their vision. Well, Voices isn't, because Voices are really tight group, to know where it is. So it's always fun for me to watch the jazzers come in, and sit and be there for 3 or 4 or 5 sets in a row, because they never heard singing like that before. Mm-hmm. That's that accurate, but still takes you someplace. I mean, makes you feel right, feel good about the day.
Right.
Well, I was going to say, it is absolutely a unique experience. And I think, to go back to something you were saying earlier, you're looking for blend singers, right? It's a blending, a real genius of blending that makes it so good. I mean, obviously the heart that you're speaking as well, but I'm talking about the precision part. Wow. And I mean, how do you find that when you're auditioning somebody? How can you tell if someone is a good blender from an audition?
Well, we'll take them through a couple. First of all, we listen to their solo voice. Like, take a Pavarotti. He could not sing in Voices of Liberty.
Mm-hmm.
How would you put that voice in there? I mean, he was an incredible singer, but I don't want him in the group, because he just right away. So there's a timbre that you can pretty well figure out. And you work with people along the way and teach them how to do it. And so I've developed, our whole thing with Voices, this is where I started with regeneration, same thing, is most people build a sound from the bottom up. And I wanted to hang the sound from the top down.
Yeah.
You match everything to the voice above you. So you've got to have a great lead soprano, because you can't sing with more energy, but with more style, with more intensity, or more volume than she's going to give you. You can be a great heroic baritone. You're not going to get to sing what you do, because we got to come in under her. So the exercise we do, everybody's on the same note. And so the first soprano, and you've got to have a really good one. That's the key. And I've always been able to find those good girls. A lot of people don't know they can do those kind of things because nobody ever asked them to.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, they find I got a whole new voice in here. I mean, I've had a number of people say that. I didn't know I could do that. I mean, I have girls, high C is kind of a high watermark for a soprano. We go to E flats and Fs above high C.
Wow. Goodness
But
gracious.
see, nobody writes like that except me. I mean, that's not nothing braggy. It's just, I mean, I hear that. See, orchestrators, that's a high violin or a flute.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I want a voice to do that if I can find it. I'm working with right now. It happens all the time. This lady, she's a lady now, sings with me, but she probably may say 35, vocal major in college, great voice, and she's a real soprano. And so I kept moving her up and moving her up as I would write things for this community choir that I have, and which is really a great choir. And she's on an F above high C, and I said, when did you know you could do that? She said, when you came along. Nobody ever.
Nobody asked her to do it.
Yeah.
So you have this kind of thing, but then you get a lady, a girl, whatever you want, wherever your age bracket is there, and then you match to her. So first soprano, second soprano, and you do it on an ooh vowel. She's got to match that. I want to blend perfect. And then the first alto's got to sound like the second soprano, the low alto, and the tenor has got to sound like the alto. He can't just just boom it out. He's
Right.
under that. And so a lot of times God says, I can't hear the altos. I have done a lot of choral clinicing and still do some, and I'll get, can you hear the altos? I said, no. Well, that's because you're singing too loud. I'm hearing them fine. So if you can't hear them, tone it down, match to them.
That is the difference. I mean, that is the difference. It's because it's not about the theatrics. It's about something else, something bigger than that.
Way bigger than that. That's right. And for the line now, for solos, I want you to do your thing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you step back in the line, your voice belongs to me, or to the group, whatever. I mean, that's just
Sure.
So that's how we started that way. So it's what gives it kind of a velvety sound. It's more delicate than just hit you in the face.
Right. How big was the group's repertoire at the start? How did it change often? Your selection of material?
No, you just kept adding it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously it went well because in 1984 they recorded an album with the Voices of Liberty for Disneyland Records.
Yep.
What was that like? Of course, you had a long experience recording, so this was nothing new to you.
What? Yeah, that we did that. Had little, and it was They didn't want to take the time that I wanted to take. On the production of it. I'm real sticky, but it was their budget and their thing. So I was kind of glad we had Dixie as one of the songs on there, and of course we had to lose. And you're not going to cut out one. The album's not worth redoing. I mean,
right?
They discontinued the album, which was fine with me. It didn't really show up, but I would like to have. They didn't want to use reverb on it, and a lot of stuff that were. That's how you make a professional sound, They just wanted it to sound more, I would say, hokey, but down to earth, and just like you'd hear it in the rotunda. I said, the rotunda's got tons of echo. Why are we going to make it sound like that? And so that one disappeared. So I did a couple of albums with Voices myself, but we had to call them Liberty Voices because Disney owned the name Voices of Liberty, but I own the music, so we still could use the music. And then when we did it on an album, we just said Liberty Voices, which didn't bother them, and it's pretty. Voices of Liberty, Liberty Voices.
Liberty Voices, right. Well, and you all would play off property as well. As Liberty Voices.
Yes, we did. A lot.
Yeah. How did you come to be in charge of Candlelight?
Well, that was Walt's ideal. Candlelight came at the very beginning of Disneyland. He told Dr. Charles Hurt, who was the big choral guru for all of America at US, Southern California, USC. And they were together getting in a meeting and talking things over. And Dr. Hurt had asked Disney how things at your new park. This was back in 1956, I think. And Walt Disney said, it's going well. I said, and Dr. said, anything you miss? Or he said, yeah. Walt Disney said, I miss Christmas carolers. So Dr. Hurt said, I can help you with that. So they set up, and Walt would be in the City Hall.
Right.
That was where Walt. He could leave his windows open, and Dr. Hurt put together a 500 voice choir or so, and they sang in the circle. But people couldn't hear them, so Dr. Hurt said, why don't we put them at the train station and let them sing down Main Street? The crowd could enjoy it. So it did. So then the first thing that happened when they opened Magic Kingdom, the first show they brought was Candlelight. And Dr. Hurt, they just did 2 nights here and 2 nights in California. Saturday, Sunday. Dr. Hurt did both in California. Then he would fly and do this one. But then Dr. Hurt was getting older and he didn't want to make the trip. So they started to use some other conductors. Johnny Mann came one time. I've forgotten who another one was. But that wasn't really where they didn't have the Disney. I mean, I love Johnny Mann. He was a good friend. But Johnny was Johnny. It was a Johnny Mann show. Well, see, that worked one time. I mean, he didn't come back for that. So anyway, the operations decided they were going to cancel Candlelight because it was 2 nights, but it broke up Mickey's Merry Birthday, whatever Christmas party.
Right.
They had to strike all that stuff for 2 nights, put risers in for 1,000 voice choir, and then strike it all after that. And the budget on that cost a lot, so we're going to just forget it. And Bob Matheson, who was one of the vice presidents, just one of the really great guys. These early guys, boy, they just knew why they were there because they had all grown up in the company. They had that Disney ethos about them. And Bob Matheson said, as long as I am here, being a vice president, we will have Candlelight. We need to make that statement to the world. Just this traditional Christmas show.
Wow.
Where else are you going to get that? We're doing it. So you can forget it. So, well, then they got stuck. And so I had Voices of Liberty going, and somebody said, you drink big choirs too? And I said, I have. Why don't you do Candlelight? Okay, I'm not sure they're trying to embarrass me or just see if I fall flat on my face, because nobody wanted to believe me at first, but I can do these things. And anyway, so I said, fine. So the music they were using was just off the shelf of the bookstore. I mean, anybody could do it. It wasn't a Disney show at all. And they had some strange things. They had, one of their arrangements was Joy to the World in the key of B minor.
Oh,
joy. I mean, it's just awful sounding. And of course, I'm sure the arrangers that, well, nobody's ever done this before, to which, and I know why.
Yep.
Oh man, so I'm directing this stuff that's going no place, but it's their show. I never said a thing. But I had just finished the Christmas album, and Sonny Anderson, who was high up he was the talent casting guy for everything, came from California as well. Really, well, these guys were such neat guys. And he asked me one day, so what do you do? What are you doing lately? Besides here, because I only worked a week a month at Disney. So I got this, I've got it on a tape right here, going to hear it. And so I just plugged them into a arrangement of Angels from the Realms of Glory. Angels from the realm, come and worship, And he listened to it. And he said, this is great. George, or he called somebody over here, come listen to this thing. Put this in Candlelight. This kind of thing we need. This is that Boston Popsy kind of, it's still very Christmas, but it's got more percussion and, timpanis and crashing cymbals and, energy. And so that was my first one they put in. And it worked really well. So then a guy named Paul Charavelli came to be the producer. Because boy, they handed it all to me for a year. I was the producer, the music director, and the director. Oh my goodness, I didn't know what I was doing. Ted Ricketts was such a big help. He was the music guy in Florida at that time, and another really great friend. I'd say, Ted, how do we say the choir's getting tired every rehearsal? Say, you just say it, man. It's your show. You're producing. Okay, act like a producer. I said, okay, we're off. When he claps, we go. I mean, I had no experience in that part of, work at all. So, but it was, and then just Paul Charavelli came in to produce it. Paul was really a great guy, but he spent a lot of money, which I think probably was a downfall after 3 or 4 years. Not, I mean, he just spent a lot.
Mhm.
But see, they started to make so much money off Candlelight.
Yeah.
I mean, once we moved over to EPCOT,
Oh gosh, yeah.
I mean, it's many, many millions of dollars.
Well, and it's such an institution. It's such a beloved thing now that, yeah, I mean, that's no pressure at all being asked to take over that.
We look back over your shoulders, really an interesting path.
Yeah.
But,
Well, there was another show performed at America Gardens Theater in the 80s called Holiday Splendor, and that even got broadcast on the Disney Channel. What can you tell us about that show?
well, yeah, they were trying to get crowds to EPCOT. See, Candlelight was still over in the Magic Kingdom
Oh, okay.
for just 2 nights, and marketing had a hard time selling EPCOT to the public because in marketing, in advertising, it's either you have to say it's as good as, not as good as, or better than.
Mhm.
Well, nothing like EPCOT. So what does it compare to? And so marketing's having a terrible time. So they would try all these different hooks to get people just to come through the gate. So they hired Carol Lawrence in to be the star of that Holiday Splendor. and Forrest Bruce was a show director and asked me to write the music for it. And we had the Mantovani strings in. And
Ooh.
I mean, it was a really good show for 2 nights. And, they spent a lot of money on that, just trying to, from a marketing standpoint, get, because Candlelight they're having trouble with Candlelight because so many people wanted to see it and couldn't. You had to put 12, and the train station, you could put 1,200 seats down. But those seats they belonged to Dick Nunes on one side and Bob Matheson on the other.
Mhm.
Because their Christmas parties, that's what they were after. They could bring their political friends and big money people and movie stars and all, So the general public was always angry because
Right.
they had trees in the way, and you could hear this thing and knew there's a big flyer up there. Herald trumpets, you could see them up on top of the train station. It was a great show. It's more of an event now. No, I take it back. That was the event. It's more of a show now.
Yeah.
It
It
just
was. I remember we saw that we saw Rock Hudson one year in the Magic Kingdom
Yeah.
doing it, and you are right. It was not a good venue for that large a crowd because I remember being just sort of everybody was kind of packed in there.
Yeah. So, and then that's ultimately, so they had that Holiday Splendor, which was a lot of fun to do. And we did draw crowds. I'm not sure that immediately paid, and they're always looking for immediate pay.
Right.
Mhm.
But it created much more interest in Epcot that it was an entertainment venue. But then they decided to move. In fact, we had meetings. So it's what I call the son of Candlelight. Ron Logan put together a committee to try to come up with a show you could do at Epcot that would be not like Candlelight, but draw like make it
Mhm.
traditional Christmas, But we don't want to do the narration, so I was like, I just got involved in so many of those kind of committee things. I always believed in Ron Logan. He died last year, and I'm so sorry.
He was a character, wasn't he?
He was great, man.
He was. Whenever I saw him speak at an event, it was always pretty hilarious.
He was, and he was a great teacher, which he ended up being. Out at Rosen, he had that huge program that for the School of Hospitality. He was, but so I don't know. He kind of took me under his wing and had me. I flew to California on a bunch of things. It was amazing. I never felt like I belonged with all these Don Dorsey and all these huge, guys that have been sitting in these meetings. Ron, you're my 10 top creative consultants, and I'm thinking, I need that slide under the table here. Whoa. But I learned, so much. Just being about Ron Logan he was really something else. Just great.
You alluded to this before, and over the years, the voices, I think, have sung for 5 presidents. I think it is now performed at the White House. All these big time visitors. What were experiences like that with dignitaries like that, and what were some other memorable dignitaries that you encountered in your years at EPCOT?
Well, we had a lot of these presidents would come by. Which was always fun. So Debbie has her whole wall of these presidents, and we'd see. Sometimes, Reagan, for instance, he could be my favorite one, and we did more with him. But he loved me. Of course, he's the one that saved my job, so of course I like it.
Right.
But he twice had the voices up to Washington D.C. Same for the lighting of the National Christmas tree and that kind of thing, and the groundbreaking for his library out in California.
Oh,
wow. Sang at Jimmy Carter's library in Atlanta when it opened. Just kind of thing. So it never gets old meeting celebrities. It's always such an honor that they would thrust you there. The ones I remember are the ones that treated us so incredibly well.
Yeah.
But we had them all. Bob Hope, he was there because in those early days, everybody, once Epcot got going, then everybody wants to get there.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Jackson came by, and we're talking about top of the line. Bob Hope was great. I should mention to me, he took time. He was upstairs because they took him up in the elevator right away, get him away from the crowd. He was going to see the show, but he heard our show down below and wanted to talk to the singers. So we went up the escalator and just got over in the corner so Bob Hope could talk. And he was just so wonderful, just encouraging. You people in a great spot, incredible talent. Keep pressing forward. Don't give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. Keep at it because you have what it takes. And you've got a platform here, so live on that. It was wonderful from a guy like Bob Hope just to take.
It's incredible, yeah.
Yeah. So some of those people are just really just nice people. Mm-hmm. Oh, there's the ones that make it to the top. They're the ones that are really great. It's the people who are fighting to get to the top that you just as soon forget sometimes. No.
That's a good point.
Funny. You can tell where they are on the scale by how they act to young people coming up, But Bob Hope has nothing to worry about.
Right.
That's right.
And he's seen it all. He's literally done it all. So
nobody's going to take his place. So
yeah.
You get all the encouragement that you want.
Well, any other particularly memorable performances? Anything unexpected that happened during performances over the years? It's a kind of a crazy venue to be performing in, I suppose.
Well, yeah, we got out places. I'd say one of the most meaningful ever. What we were singing for Special Olympics and the awards ceremony. And so what was the song? My goodness, I can't think of it right now. It's a big kind of anthem-y song for that. Oh, man. I spoiled one story. I don't know what the song was. Not Wind Beneath My Wings, something like that. Anyway, so I did a big arrangement of that for voices, but 8 singers on the platform. But as this kid, Special Olympics kid, is coming out carrying the torch,
Mhm.
it just, I mean, so determined. I mean, you could not have stopped him with a truck.
Mhm.
I mean, what is, and walking, and of course, there's a special walk that they do have, and counting, walking up those steps and walking over, touching that torch he's carrying to a bigger torch on the stage, and they had those kind of things that get you. We did some July 4th things, July 3, 4, and 5, some big patriotic, Star Spangled Spectacular kind of things, with a double cast of voices. And that's when we had world dancers, and we had the college orchestra in the summer. It was just great stuff, and bringing the flags down from the services, the Army, the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And we got recruiters in. They didn't. I was very glad. I talked to them about that. We don't want just character people carrying a flag just because you put a uniform. They don't know how to march. I mean, these guys. But I remember this Marine coming next to me. He was, I think it was like 42, 43. I mean, just built like a rock.
Mhm.
As he came in, and when they march toe first, so it's not heel. So you get that. And I mean, it's you can hear that as they come down that concrete one at a time. And the Marine was up next to me. Because I'm emceeing and doing some stuff, and so I'm looking right at him, and we're playing. We do a thing on taps. It's nothing. With Ron Logan said, if you'd have told me you were going to do taps, I would not have let you down on the show. People don't need to come to cry to Disney.
Hmm.
You don't pay money to cry. He said, but I'll tell you, every time I leave something you do, Candlelight, there's something happens inside of me. I think it's heart. You're in charge of heart. So whenever I have a meeting, I want you come and you be sure that these guys built a great Tin Man for me. I put a heart in it. So we're doing tap. We have this choral version of with a real live trumpet up on. They used to have that promenade, those pillars in the back of the American Gardens stage on down. We put this Marine up there. And you have to fight so many things. Because we're going to put a microphone up there. I said, no, you're not. No, we got to have a microphone up there. I said, no, you can't. If you go to Arlington National Cemetery and your taps played, you don't see the trumpet player. It's ethereal. What you guys don't understand, it just happens. It's out there. There's no source to that. It's there. Well, you know how much trouble we'll get if we don't have a mic on that? I'm the show director. Send them to me. You don't take any guy. Go talk to Derric, and I'll find out. But you can't do that. Okay, at least we got to put a spotlight on him. I said, no, he's up above everybody. He needs. Why can't people understand this? So anyway, I got my way. No lights. I was just, whoa. But I'll never forget this Marine. And we had 100 Boy Scouts coming in carrying. That's another thing, carrying flags, Boy Scouts and Cub Scouts down the sides while we're singing, hooray for the red, white, and blue. Well, I suggest Boy Scouts. And they said, no, can't do that. We'll call the Navy Recruiting Center. We still had it down here. We get real markets here. I said, you don't want that. I mean, come on. This needs to be like a, July 4th picnic. I mean, this is America.
Mm-hmm.
All the time. So unfortunately, that marching unit was off at some other place. So we had these Boy Scouts. And I said, boy, that's going to be terrible. They don't look, they're all different sizes. I said, yeah. When they I said, yeah. Well, and you're going to have them out there for 12 minutes. They're going to wiggle all around. I said, yeah. What you want? I mean, some of these guys, everything has to be so, perfectly aligned, and so you lose heart. That's what you do. You get these kids coming down, and then the Marines of the Forest Service came down, and we were doing taps before we ended up with a big battle in the Republic. And I looked over this Marine. I mean, seriously, a tough guy. He had medals. I probably standing like this, he had so many medals. Big old tear came down his cheek, landed on his coat, And after it was over, we were talking. He said, Mr. Johnson said, this is the first time, because he's a Vietnam guy, the first time I felt anybody cared about my comrades. Thanks for doing that. Well, okay. See that's where I live. I mean, he's a star to me, and I'd rather touch him and stand next to him than about anybody I can think of. So we had so many opportunities like that, just to move people, touch people. Tell the thanks. We Armed Forces medley in the rotunda. We do it all year long. They don't. I did too. I think. Now then they pulled it back out again. But boy, you see those guys stand up for their armed service.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
And people clap. Because nobody remembers anymore. I was really sad when they took it off the floor because it wasn't politically correct to do that. I'm not trying to convince you. I don't know where you guys are. Just for me, I want to say thank you to those guys. So it always worked for us.
Absolutely. And who knows how many people you touched and never even knew it, just people passing through and on their vacation, and they stop and see this show, and who knows, what.
And they don't get it like Debbie, who sang for these 30 years, 47,000 shows, my wife.
Wow.
For her, like we used to skip to Malou. And when you're playing shows, my concept is this: and a concert is a collection of songs. A program is a connection of songs. And so we did programs for me where songs connect. I mean, there's a reason for this song in this place. It's not, oh, you like that song? Here's another one like it, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you need, to me, in a show, you need an Oh Susanna, you need a Skip to Malou, where you bring down that wall so you go out and talk to people, touch people. And, we had routines to pull back. And, when it's Oh Susanna, the guy goes out and takes the lady's hand, and as he leaves, it makes it look like she's pulling him back. And well, that's wonderful. That's a great show because you have connected in a very real way. And Skip to Malou, girls usually would go and find a little boy, 7, 8-year-old, and flirt with him just a little bit, need not talk to him. Just, I lost my partner. What'll I do? Is the verse, and then will you be my partner? Just kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
And so Debbie did that for so many years and so well. More than once, she'd have a guy come up, 25 years old. So when I was 5 years old, you sang that to me. I brought my 5-year-old here today. I hope you'd sing it to him, and you did.
That's awesome.
See, isn't that cool?
That is so great.
So if you want to get the memory, those are the big ones to me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you brought up Debbie because many people have performed with voices over the years, but I wanted to ask you specifically about one performer fairly well, and that is Debbie Johnson, your wife. Certainly someone who is instantly recognizable to those of us who grew up going to EPCOT in the 80s and 90s and beyond. I think she was, 33 years? Is that it?
Yeah.
She was even, and I remember seeing her in Follow Us to Walt Disney World, these promo films they did in the early 80s, so she's, her face is always there in the voices. Just, tell us a little about her before we go.
Okay. Now you talk about finding a voice that can blend.
Mm-hmm.
When she was in college, first I say in high school. First of all, she was in Oregon. She was the number one alto in the state. She still has that badge. She showed it to me the other day. We have a grandson who's number one in Oregon playing the trumpet.
Oh, wow.
So we were just out there last week, and to get his he's graduated from high school. So she starts off with this great voice. She goes to college, And while she was in college, it's a really wonderful, big, strong voice. The Portland Symphony Orchestra, which is a pretty high level orchestra, was doing the Messiah in one Christmas. And so they brought a soprano up from San Francisco Opera Company. They brought somebody from New York, from something there, and another one, I think, from Pennsylvania, the tenors and the bass. But they said, we got the alto right here. And Debbie Johnson, she's a sophomore in college, but that's how good she was.
Mm.
You know, I mean, she's an incredible singer, but does know how to pull into a group sound. I mean, she's phenomenal at that. You know, but when she gets out to do a solo, man, she can knock. You know, she has an album. You know, I mean, she's just a really worthwhile singer. But then as a person, man, everybody loves Debbie. In fact, when she retired in 2015, after her 30-some years, 32 years, Disney did a huge thing on it, did a video. Are you aware of that? Have you ever seen that, Michael?
I don't think so. I may have.
I do remember that.
Because I vaguely remember that, yeah.
It was beautifully done. They came to interview her because she was the last person standing who was there still in voices from day one.
Wow.
So it was kind of the end of an era. So this young lady had come to interview her for what's our Eyes and Ears.
Mm-hmm.
And a real nice article. But Debbie knew she's going to be interviewed, so she had taken that picture of Reagan and some stuff. And this girl went back, this reporter, and she said, I know I'm not supposed to get involved with any of the people we interview, but this lady, you need to talk to her. She's got pictures and stories. You anything like this. So they set it up with them. They did this video. I mean, really, it was you know, a Disney. They really beautifully done. And she tells a story in there, which was the first song I brought in for the singers. My first day there, not even knowing half of them, I never met them. I mean, worked with them ever before. So first song I brought is a big arrangement of America the Beautiful, kind of chorals. They could just sing and not have to worry about blend and stuff to begin with. I didn't want a self-success. Second song was an arrangement of Shenandoah. Oh, Shenandoah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when one of the Disney hierarchy heard that in rehearsal, he said, that's nice, but you can never use that in the show. And I said, why not? He said, it's too soft and too slow. Disney, music's got to help kick, cut that. And it's got to move on. I said, no. I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I think you need to give it a chance. Give people a chance. No. Don't ever use that in the show. I said, okay, if we use it for a clinic piece, because it's the best song I know to pull these voices into this blend, because man, it's a lot of unisons. You know, sure, clinic it all you want, just don't ever use it. So Forrest came over. We're still in rehearsal. We had a month. You don't really get a month to rehearse because they take them over wardrobe fitting and traditions and all these classes to take in those days and all. But we were there for 4 weeks to prepare. And Forrest came over and said, would you like to go see the building you're going to be in? Floor's not poured yet, but just so you can see where you are. Man, it'd be thrilling. Because I'm really getting, you can only rehearse for so long to the air, you know. So we get in the van and go over to American Adventure. We walk in the back. And everybody's working, boy, hammers are pounding and saws and drills because they're working in the balcony, putting everything together up there. And again, the floor was just all gravel, and because they have to pour that marble, so whatever they do, and so it's all just stringers, gravel and 2x4. So it's you walk it through. Well, I'm the kind of we're singers, and I'm standing out of the dome. I said, let's sing something. I mean, let's sing something.
Yeah.
So we started. The only song we really know by heart is Shenandoah. So we start, oh, Shenandoah. And all of a sudden, this drill stops over here, and the saw stops over here, and the pounding stops over here. And by the time we get halfway through the second verse, is dead quiet in there, and all those workmen are leaning on that balcony looking,
Mm.
you know. And when we finished, I mean, they just laughed and yelled and cheered. I looked at the guy who told me we could never use it, and I said, "See."
I mean, and that is one of the most touching numbers. I mean, it really,
No,
and it's so hard. What people don't understand is it's hard to dial in those slow,
yeah,
those legato pieces that have the long held notes. That's the hardest stuff to dial in sometimes. And that's, I mean, just the fact that it is so well executed and there's so much feeling to it. It just brings a broad range to the spectrum of the performance, I think.
absolutely. Anyway, that probably has become, that and Battle Hymn are the two most requested songs that I've ever known that we had.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I
I
mean?
believe it.
But so some of those entertainment people had to be educated too. But it's hard to educate uphill.
Yeah, right.
That's so true.
You've got to prove it,
Right.
which we did, and it was really pretty fun to do. And I'm glad we had a chance to, make some of those things happen, because it doesn't have to all be cut time and click and
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like making a mixtape for something. You have your ups and your downs and your funny bits and your emotional
the
bits,
flow.
and
You've got to think about flow.
yeah,
He's the same, and everything's big. And there's no program to it. That's just concert.
absolutely, absolutely. Well, before we go, we asked our listeners if they had any questions for you. I have a couple. First, somebody wanted to know if the rotunda and the acoustics of the lobby of the American Adventure influenced your approach to the musical arrangements.
No,
Yeah,
we just did it.
yeah. It enhances the.
But I didn't know it was going to be there till that day we walked. I didn't know anything about our building, about the dome or anything.
That's amazing.
So that day we went out and sang for the workmen. That was the first time I'd been in the building. So
Another question we had was about your perspective on how, if at all, the voices evolved over time. They're curious if there were ways in casting, costuming, arrangement, performance, any ways the voices adapted with the broader sort of cultural trends. They say, if you dropped a 2024 performance into 1984, would anything stand out other than the audience's clothing?
yeah, the style of music changed. Here's the funny thing. When I started, that first meeting I had when my 6-month contract got, said that we want the music to be American music before the Revolutionary War. Because if we pick up the show above at the Revolutionary War or not, so you're pre-show. I said, okay, that's going to be tricky, because before the Revolutionary War, there was no America. Part of it was no American music. So you're kind of barking up a strange tree to me there. I said, why don't we make it as early American music? Let me come to the Civil War, because I really wanted to do Battle. That's such Americana kind of thing. Okay, take it to the Civil War, but nothing beyond the Civil War. I said, okay, fine. Well, then pretty soon we had requests from entertainment people, the Ron Logans and those kind of people say, okay, I'm bringing a special group and we got a big banquet. We need an arrangement of God Bless America. Okay. So then that moved us up into the 20th century.
Mm-hmm.
But that sounds so traditional. And American the Beautiful. That's 1874, something like that. It sounds like a forever song. Who thinks that when that song was written?
Right.
It's always been there. Battle Hymn has kind of always been there. So I began to encroach up a bit. Then I had one of you move, bosses change, operational people come, and of course I have to be careful with operations because they're the ones that sign your check. So and this one guy said, I want you to, you don't do enough contemporary stuff. I said, well, technically by contract we're not supposed to, because we're supposed to be 8 by then. Civil War, and we get 1874. So I think some of our wardrobe was in the girls. And well, I want something more contemporary. I said, well, like what? He said, my favorite song. This is the age of Aquarius. I said, now, wait a minute. We're dressed up in 1874, people. And you want them to sing, this is the age of Aquarius? I mean, are you kidding me? This is what you run into.
That's like when we talked to Don Dorsey, he was talking about the music that used to be playing on Main Street at Disneyland, which was, what was the song that he said, Michael?
Oh, I can't even
remember.
remember.
Like the Mamas and the Papas. I mean, it was just all the contemporary music. And they're like, well, what if we changed it to be period appropriate? It's like...
Well, but see, we were not kind of stuck. I was happy there with the wardrobe. And of course, that's a big part of so many people who would come with those incredible outfits. You know, they were extremely expensive. And anyway, so I went to Ron Logan and I said, I gave the name. I said, he wants us to do this age of Aquarius. So Ron told me, I won't give you the verbiage. What I said, I won't do it the way I won't quote you, but I'll tell him you said we couldn't do it. He said, I already looked at it. So I had to go and tell this guy, and Ron Logan in charge of everything entertainment. So we didn't have to. But then that's when they started. I'm gone. I did, I really was there 30 years when you got to Regen time, so 25, even with Voices and Candlelight. And I had other things I really needed to get into because that can be like Candlelight. I lost the whole basic month of November, December. I was writing music and publishing stuff for the open market. And they want me to come and direct a Christmas show here. And I couldn't do it because and they're going to get somebody to do it. So you can only turn them down so many times, So anyway, but after I left, that's when they began to get a lot of newer and Disney. You really can't sing Let It Go from Pro or whatever dressed in that wardrobe. It's oxymoronic. It just doesn't feel right. So that's when they changed the wardrobe to make it more contemporary, so they could do more contemporary things. Because the two do go hand in hand. I mean, wardrobe does dictate a lot of, I think, what you can do.
Absolutely.
Or at least what you should do.
You were there in a time that we're so fascinated with, the 70s and the 80s at Walt Disney World. And, that's when we kind of start remembering things. And I just wonder if you had any sort of last reflections on what it was like to be there at that time.
Oh yeah, one of the great stories, and a line that I've used out of that story many times. But at opening, Bob Yanni was in charge of all the 3 days of opening for EPCOT without the public. 10,000 workers, I think, on the first day, and then 10,000. Politicians and those kind of people, and 10,000 entertainment. I mean, it was amazing. He spent more money on those 3 days than the whole year's worth of entertainment budget. That's Bob Yanni, and I mean, it was amazing. They had on the third day, I remember, because we sang, Voices were there, and I'm up on this tiny little edge of the platform with them, and we had 2,400, I think it was, folkloric dancers from all over the world. Wow. Folk dancers. And I think there was a 1,200 piece marching band and a 1,600 voice choir, something like that. I mean, Bob Yanni, that's what he did. It was amazing. And it was all in Communicore. We turned the fountain off and just jam all these people. And then daytime pyro and jets flying over and just, I mean, what a thing. And I remember Card Walker was the guy in charge at that time. And he called Lillian Disney up. And she came, it was an October day, of course. And it was just a brisk, sun was shining, not clear, but it was a brisk day. And she was always such a lovely lady. Her hair done just perfect, gray hair. She had a long, dark brown leather coat that almost was ankle length. I mean, she looked quite stunning. She stood next to Card Walker. He looked at all the stuff and he said, Lily, isn't it a shame I'm standing, I mean, you can't, this is not on mic. I'm just standing there. I can hear because we
Mhm.
just
Mm-hmm.
really, is it a shame Walt didn't see this? And she said, he did.
Oh, wow. Well, that's a good. Speaking of a good note to go out on, that's a good note to go out on.
And that's when I heard it all the time when I said, Walt is dead. I wanted to know he's not. Because I'd ask in meetings, Craig, what would Walt think of this? Walt is dead. No, he's not. Why do you think this is here? You can't say that. So anyway, yeah, but he did. And that's where we got to live our lives. You got to see what is to be, so. So it's great to talk. Anytime I can talk with you guys or whatever, this has been wonderful. Thanks for the time and the chance to offer some of these things because there's great truth there.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. And I know people are going to love hearing from you. So thanks. Well, that wraps up our conversation with Derric Johnson. Jeff, a nicer guy you could not meet.
I know. I mean, he had me at the musical chops with thousands and thousands of arrangements and all these choral groups under his belt. But really, the kicker and what really matters, he's just such a joyful and generous fellow, and it's good to see the good guys win, Michael.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So very grateful for his time and just so glad he's still doing what he loves. He's still out there, just spreading the joy.
That's right. Well, Michael, it's the time in our program where we talk about how to engage with us on a deeper plane. Michael, if I were searching for more of this, I mean, we like the interviews, we like the history, but we only have several hours a month to share. How would I double click on us, Michael?
Well, you can always double click for more with us because there's more at our Patreon feed. Join our Patreon, help back the show, help make the show happen. And you get extra content, you get early access to episodes, you get, all kinds of little goodies here and there, and get access to our show Discord, which is a fun way to talk to other fans and have good nerdy discussions. And at the silver level, join in on our monthly live stream, which is a great time to hang out with people and watch some rare videos, see some rare photos, just have a good time.
Sounds lovely. Thanks to all our Patreon supporters. But how would you sign up if you were a new one?
Well, if you're interested in all these things, and of course you gain access to all our past live streams as well, you can join at patreon.com/Progress City USA. Your membership is tax deductible. So check it out, patreon.com/Progress City USA. We'd love to see you there. Love to join in on those monthly chats and just come on, have a good time.
It's just a couple cups of coffee from your local coffee shop. Yes, it is a lot of fun to spend time with all the Patreons and all of you who listen with us. We thank you as well. We have to mark that, the 4th of July is kind of like our second birthday.
That's right.
When we started all over again. Now, 4 years ago, Michael, seems hard to believe.
That is super hard to believe. Gosh, I'm glad you pointed that out. It's, our fourth year re-anniversary, I suppose.
And although we're off of our top speed pace, I should say, almost 70 episodes in the can and counting. And here we grow again, Michael.
Absolutely. Many more on the way.
So, America. So, America. This is why our first episode back from our original 3 is a 4th of July special, and there are a few of those. So if you want extra listening, go back and listen to our back catalog. Our back pages are full, not only on the live stream, but in our podcast feed at this point. And if you're just discovering us, go back and check out some of those stories. That said, Michael, we look to the future, and if we're in America now, where should we go next?
Well, we've got part of North America covered with this patriotism, but why don't we dip south of the border for a little fiesta, a little exploration of Disney's adventures south of the border?
I think that sounds excellent. There's a lot of Mexican influence in the Disney parks, and then the Disney films and all over. So, yes, let's have a fiesta of our own, shall we?
I think it'll be fun. Yeah, this is one I'm really excited about. We've teased it before we inserted that Sherman Brothers episode into the lineup as an homage. So, this one's been on our minds for a while. I'm really excited.
It's true. Yeah, we had to take a little musical break due to current events, but we're back on it. We'll see you in the near future. Now, if you want to get in touch with us, if you have a burning concept for us to tackle, we are all ears. You can email us at podcast@progresscityusa.com, or you could find us on Twitter. Michael is at ProgressCityUSA. I'm at Jeff G. Crawford. So please be in touch with us. We always like opening our mailbag. And Michael, anything else to say to our people before we let them go?
Thanks for listening. Thanks for your support, and we'll see you next time.